There's a specific type of man that women immediately recognize and respect. Not because of what he says, not because of how he looks, not because of what he owns, because of what he doesn't do. While other men are performing, trying too hard, desperately seeking validation, this man is simply different, calm, grounded, self-contained. And that difference is magnetic in ways that most men will never understand. The ancient Stoics had a term for this quality, dignitas. It's not arrogance, it's not aloofness, it's a quiet self-respect that refuses to compromise itself for external approval. In the next 14 minutes, I'm going to show you 8 specific things that high-value men never do around women. These aren't rules. These are standards that emerge naturally from genuine self-respect. And once you understand them, you'll never look at male-female dynamics the same way again. Let's get into this. Before we begin, let's be clear about what high value actually means. It's not about money, though high-value men often earn well because they're disciplined. It's not about looks, though they usually take care of themselves. It's not about status, though they often achieve it because they're focused on contribution rather than approval. High value is about internal standards. It's about self-governance. It's about having a code that you live by, regardless of who's watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." High-value men think differently. And because they think differently, they behave differently. Specifically, they refuse to engage in certain behaviors that low-value men do constantly without even realizing it. And women notice this refusal immediately. It communicates strength, self-respect, and emotional maturity at a level that words never could. Let's examine each one. Thing number 1. High-value men never seek validation or approval from women. This is the foundation of everything else. Watch the average man around women he's attracted to. Everything he does is designed to generate approval. Every story is crafted to impress. Every joke is tested to see if she laughs. Every opinion is carefully calibrated to match what he thinks she wants to hear. He's constantly monitoring her reaction, constantly adjusting, constantly seeking confirmation that he's acceptable, attractive, worthy. The high-value man operates from a completely different frame. His stories are told because they're genuinely interesting to him. His opinions are stated honestly because he values truth over agreement. His jokes emerge naturally because he's comfortable, not because he needs validation. Epictetus wrote, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." The high-value man already has something that cannot be given or taken by her reaction, his own self-respect. What this looks like practically, he doesn't fish for compliments. He doesn't need her to tell him he looks good, that he's smart, that he's interesting. He doesn't change his behavior based on her mood. If she's cold or distant, he doesn't immediately scramble to figure out what he did wrong. He doesn't seek permission for his own decisions and preferences. He doesn't constantly check if she's still interested. He assumes that if she's present, she's interested. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." The high-value man values his own opinion of himself more than hers, not out of arrogance, but out of self-knowledge and self-respect. And women feel this difference immediately. It's the difference between a man who needs them and a man who chooses them. The first is suffocating. The second is intoxicating. Thing number 2. High-value men never change themselves to fit her expectations. She mentions she likes guys who are into fitness. Suddenly, he's talking about working out constantly. She says she values ambition. Suddenly, every conversation is about career goals he never mentioned before. She prefers a certain style. He completely changes his appearance. Within weeks, he's become a curated version of what he thinks she wants, having abandoned who he actually is, and her respect for him dies. Seneca observed, "What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." The high-value man is already a friend to himself. He knows who he is, and he's not willing to abandon that self-knowledge to become a performance of her preferences. This doesn't mean he's rigid or unwilling to grow. Growth is different from shape-shifting. Growth is becoming a better version of yourself. Shape-shifting is becoming a different person entirely to gain approval. Watch the distinction. She values health and fitness. Low-value response. Pretend you've always been into fitness, even though you haven't. High-value response. If you genuinely want to improve your health, do so. If not, don't pretend. She likes philosophy. Low-value response. Start name-dropping philosophers you haven't read. High-value response. If philosophy genuinely interests you, explore it. If not, be honest. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Here's the paradox. Women say they want you to change to fit their preferences, but when you actually do it, they lose respect. Because changing yourself reveals that you have no core, no standards, no authentic self worth protecting. The high-value man can be influenced. He can grow, but he will never abandon himself to become what someone else wants him to be. And that refusal to shapeshift, that's what creates genuine respect. Thing number 3. High-value men never gossip or speak poorly of other women. The low-value man thinks bonding with a woman means joining her in criticism of others. She mentions a friend who annoyed her. He enthusiastically agrees and adds criticism. She points out another woman's flaws. He validates her judgment and piles on. He thinks he's creating connection. He's actually broadcasting that he's untrustworthy and weak. Epictetus taught, "If you hear that someone is speaking ill of you, don't make excuses about what is said of you, but answer." He did not know my other faults, else he would not have mentioned only these. The high-value man applies this universally. He doesn't speak ill of people who aren't present to defend themselves, not because he's morally superior, but because it's beneath his dignity. What this looks like. She criticizes her friend. "Sarah is so dramatic about everything." Low-value response. "Yeah, I noticed that too. She's exhausting." High-value response. "I don't know her well enough to say." Or simply changing the subject. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." The high-value man doesn't need to tear others down to build himself up. He doesn't need to join in gossip to create bonding. Here's what women unconsciously register when you refuse to gossip. If he won't speak poorly of other women to me, he won't speak poorly of me to others. He's trustworthy. He's not easily influenced to abandon his standards for social bonding. He sees people as individuals deserving of fair treatment, not objects to be judged for entertainment. This refusal communicates strength, integrity, and emotional maturity that cannot be faked, and it generates respect at a level that agreement and gossip never could. Thing number 4. High-value men never compete for her attention. She's talking to other guys. She's getting attention from multiple sources. She's clearly enjoying being pursued by various options. The low-value man sees this and immediately goes into competition mode. He tries to be funnier than the other guys, more impressive, more available. He's essentially auditioning for the role of most worthy of her attention. The high-value man does something completely different. He removes himself from the competition entirely, not out of insecurity, but out of self-respect that refuses to participate in dynamics where his value is being tested against others for her amusement. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane." Competing for her attention like a performing seal is insane when you actually have self-respect. What this looks like. She's clearly playing multiple guys against each other. Low-value response. Try harder to stand out. Be more available, more impressive. High-value response. Step back entirely. You seem to have a lot going on. When you have clarity about what you want, let me know. She flirts with other guys in front of you. Low-value response. Visible jealousy, trying to reclaim her attention. High-value response. Calm indifference. Your attention shifts elsewhere naturally. Here's the psychology. When you compete for her attention, you're accepting the frame that she's the prize and you're one of many contestants. That frame guarantees you lose regardless of whether she chooses you. But when you refuse to compete, when your presence communicates, "I'm not here to audition or prove my worth in comparison to others," you reframe the entire dynamic. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." What's in your power? Your dignity, your refusal to compete, your willingness to walk away from dynamics that require you to diminish yourself. The high-value man focuses on that and remains completely indifferent to the rest. And that indifference is what often makes her stop the game entirely. Thing number 5. High-value men never make excuses or over-explain themselves. Something doesn't go as planned? He's late. He can't make it to something. He made a decision. She doesn't understand. The low-value man immediately launches into elaborate explanations and justifications. He needs her to understand it wasn't his fault. He needs her approval of his reasoning. The high-value man states the fact, perhaps offers a brief reason if appropriate, and moves on. No excuses, no elaborate justifications. Marcus Aurelius observed, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Watch the difference. Running late, low value. "I'm so sorry, traffic was insane and then I couldn't find parking and my phone died so I couldn't text you earlier." High value. "I'm running 15 minutes late. See you soon." Can't make plans. Low value. "I really wish I could make it, but I have this thing that I totally forgot about and I feel terrible." High value. "I can't make it tonight. Let's reschedule for Thursday." Made a decision she doesn't agree with. Low value. "Here's why I did this, and here are all the reasons it makes sense, and I hope you understand." High value. "I made this decision because it's what I felt was right. I understand you see it differently." Here's what overexplaining actually communicates. You don't trust your own judgment and need external validation. You're afraid of disapproval and will contort yourself to avoid it. You don't have the confidence to simply own your choices. Seneca wrote, "A sword never kills anybody. It is a tool in the killer's hand." The high-value man uses words as precision instruments, conveying necessary information clearly and moving on. This doesn't mean being cold or uncommunicative. It means being secure enough to let your decisions stand without needing verbal scaffolding to support them. Thing number 6. High-value men never tolerate disrespect. She's rude. She's dismissive. She's condescending. She crosses clear boundaries. The low-value man tolerates it. He makes excuses for her behavior. He absorbs the disrespect because he's afraid that addressing it will make her leave. The high-value man addresses it immediately, calmly, and with absolute clarity. Or he removes himself entirely, but he never tolerates being disrespected. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury, but maintaining your standards means not accepting disrespect." What this looks like? She speaks to you condescendingly or rudely. Low-value response. Absorb it. Make excuses for her mood. Try to pat her. High-value response. I don't speak to you that way, and I won't accept being spoken to that way. We can continue when you're ready to be respectful. She crosses a stated boundary. Low-value response. Let it slide. Convince yourself it's not a big deal. High-value response. I told you that wasn't acceptable. Since you chose to do it anyway, I'm going to give us both some space. She's consistently disrespectful. Low-value response. Hope it gets better. Keep trying to please her. High-value response. End the relationship. Here's what tolerating disrespect communicates. You don't value yourself enough to require respectful treatment. You're so afraid of losing her that you'll accept any behavior. You have no standards that can't be violated. When you refuse to tolerate disrespect, when you calmly but firmly establish that respectful treatment is non-negotiable, something interesting happens. Often, the disrespect stops immediately because it was a test. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." Who are you? Someone worthy of respect. Then require it, not hope for it. That standard is what defines high value more than almost anything else. Thing number 7. High V-value men never neglect their purpose for female attention. He has goals. He has a mission. He's building something that matters to him. Then he meets a woman he's attracted to. Suddenly, the goals take a backseat. The mission gets deprioritized. All his attention and focus has redirected toward her. Within months, he's achieved nothing except maintaining her attention, and her respect for him has died because she's watching a man abandon his purpose for her approval. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." Notice what he lists: think, enjoy, love. Not abandon thinking and enjoying for love. Love is part of a full life, not a replacement for it. The high-value man understands this instinctively. A woman is an addition to his life, not the center of it. Before meeting her, going to the gym 5 days a week, building his business, pursuing goals with discipline. Low-value response. Gym stops. Business gets neglected. Goals are shelved because the relationship takes time. High-value response. Gym continues. Business continues. Goals continue. She's integrated into an already full life. Here's the devastating irony. The woman attracted to your purpose will lose that attraction when you abandon your purpose for her. She didn't fall for the version who makes her the center of your universe. She fell for the version building something meaningful. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. What would you be? A man of purpose and discipline. Then maintain that purpose regardless of who enters your life. You integrate her into your life. You don't replace your life with her. When you operate from this truth, you remain attractive indefinitely because you remain the man she was initially attracted to, the one with purpose beyond her. Thing number 8. High-value men never pretend to be perfect. The low-value man thinks he needs to be perfect to be worthy, so he hides his flaws. He covers his weaknesses. He presents a carefully curated version that has no cracks, no failures, no humanity. And women see right through it, because perfection is not only impossible, it's incredibly unattractive. The high-value man owns his humanity completely. His failures, his flaws, his works in progress, not apologetically, but with simple acknowledgement that being human means being imperfect. Seneca observed, "No man was ever wise by chance. Wisdom comes through mistakes and failures." The man pretending to be perfect is claiming he's never had to become wise, which means he isn't. What this looks like. He makes a mistake. Low-value response. Hide it, deflect, blame external circumstances. High-value response. I messed that up. Here's how I'm fixing it. He doesn't know something. Low-value response. Pretend he does or avoid the topic. High-value response. I actually don't know much about that. Tell me more. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." The high-value man is strict with himself in holding high standards and constantly working to improve. But he's tolerant of himself in acknowledging that he's human, imperfect, always developing. What pretending to be perfect communicates. You're insecure about your humanity and need to hide it. You can't be trusted to be honest. You're exhausting because the performance never drops, versus owning your humanity. You're secure enough to acknowledge imperfection. You're honest, which creates trust. You're actively working on yourself, which creates respect. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. The high-value man is content with being seen as imperfect, as learning, as works in progress. That combination, honest about current reality, committed to future growth, is infinitely more attractive than performed perfection. Let's bring this together. 8 things high-value men never do around women. 1. Never seek validation or approval. They know their own worth. 2. Never change themselves to fit her expectations. They have core identity. They won't abandon. 3. Never gossip or speak poorly of others. They have integrity that won't compromise. 4. Never compete for her attention. They won't participate in degrading dynamics. 5. Never make excuses or over-explain. They own their decisions without seeking approval. 6. Never tolerate disrespect. They have standards that are non-negotiable. 7. Never neglect their purpose. They won't abandon what matters for female attention. 8. Never pretend to be perfect. They own their humanity while working on growth. Every single one of these comes back to the same foundation: self-respect. Not arrogance, not superiority, not performing strength. Genuine self-respect that refuses to compromise itself for external validation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." High-value men think differently. They think, my worth is inherent, not conditional. My purpose matters. My standards are non-negotiable. My humanity is acceptable. My dignity is not for sale. And because they think this way, they behave this way. Seneca taught, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most men suffer imagining what will happen if they don't seek approval, if they maintain standards and refuse to compromise. They imagine rejection, loss, being alone. What they don't realize is that the opposite happens when you operate from genuine self-respect. You become magnetic, not to everyone, but to the people worth being magnetic to. Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. What's in your power? These 8 refusals, these 8 standards, these 8 commitments to self-respect. What's not in your power? How any particular woman responds to them. But here's what I can promise. The woman who loses respect because you maintain these standards was never going to respect you long-term anyway. And the woman who recognizes and values these qualities, she's the one worth building something with. Be the high-value man, not as performance, as reality. If this resonated, leave a comment sharing which of the 8 you're committing to implementing immediately. Until next time, remember Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength is what creates genuine high value. Everything else is just performance.